How do you build a client base? The biggest way to generate business as a loan officer is through something I wish I would have done. Thank me later. It will save your life. I had no experience as a mortgage loan officer going in. Hey honeybees, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, my name is Sierra and I do videos on finance and lifestyle. I've helped hundreds of people to buy homes and build wealth, so I take what I know and I share it with you in hopes that you will build wealth also. Alright, so today's video is going to be another loan officer Q&A. You guys always ask me tons of questions about how to become a loan officer and what it takes to become successful. Becoming a loan officer changed my life. So I know a ton of you are interested in getting involved in the business, so I just want to give back in the ways that I can and share with you all what has worked for me, what hasn't, how I was able to get into the business, and I want to answer your questions on how you too can get involved in this industry and become successful. Is it possible to find a 9-to-5 MLO job as a new MLO? I'm a single mom and I don't want crazy hours. Yes, it's completely possible. A lot of people also ask, can I work part-time? Can I work from home? These are dependent upon your employer. There are employers who will allow you to work from home if you have experience, or once you have enough experience to work from home. There are employers that don't allow you to work from home. There are employers that may allow you to work part-time. There's employers that don't allow you to work part-time. Really, the key to your schedule as a loan officer is aligning yourself with an employer that will give you the work schedule that you want. Especially in the beginning as a loan officer though, I would plan to devote as much time as you can to it because there's a lot to learn, there's a lot to do. Most companies are going to employ you as a 9-to-5 mortgage loan officer. How do commissions work? And do you get leads from your company or do you have to find them? This question is actually, again, specific to your employer. Typically, the way commission works is you get paid a percentage of the loan amount of a loan you close. Easy calculation, like a 1% commission. So for example, if you sell a house and it's $500,000, if you have a 1% commission, you would make $5,000. You make money off of closing each loan, and each loan you close, you make a percentage of the loan amount. In general, across the board, that's how it works. Different employers also may have a tier payment plan as well, where you make more percentage from the loans you get, the more volume you do. So when we talk about loan amount, your loan amount is going to be the sales price minus what the buyer is paying up front, and that leaves your loan amount. So that's the amount you get paid off of. So it really just depends on your employer. It's hard for me to let you know, yeah, this is exactly what your commission would be, your commission is, because it's not the same across the board for all employers or for all loan officers. So definitely check with your employer when you are going through the process of choosing who you're going to work for. An important question is to know what the pay structure is, or the pay scale. That's big when you work in this industry because it's sales and it's mostly commission. So definitely ask that question when you are choosing who you're going to work for. Do you get leads from your company or do you have to find them? This is also specific to your employer. My employer, when I started out, up until maybe 2 to 3 years ago, I was getting leads from my company. Especially when you're starting out as a new loan officer, if you can find a company that will feed you leads, this is going to be great, because while you're learning the industry and getting your feet wet and making those realtor connections, you still have leads that are coming in and business that's coming in. But you do want to get to a point to where you're not dependent on those leads. If you're a good loan officer, at some point you're not going to need those, or you'll be able to generate leads on your own. So the goal is to always be able to generate leads on your own. That's going to be what makes you most successful and makes you the most money. But you can find a company that will give you leads starting off. So it kind of works both ways. It just depends on the employer. Do you have to be working at a bank or a company to become a loan officer? It depends on what you see as becoming a loan officer. So if you mean once you've passed your test, you can take your test without being employed by a company, technically, yes. But in order to be an active, licensed, practicing loan officer, you do have to be employed or sponsored by a company. This is a question I get asked a lot. How did you build a client base? I actually posted a video on how to make money as a loan officer and how to get business. So you'll definitely want to check that out. I will link that above and below. The biggest way to generate business as a loan officer is through real estate agents. So you'll want to make connections, good connections with real estate agents you work well with that will send you business. Essentially, that is the best way to build a client base. But of course, you can also get clients through leads from your company, word of mouth, advertising. There's all kinds of ways you can build business, but for sure, real estate agents is probably the most common and best way to build a client base. About how to get started and what's the very first step. Again, a lot of questions I get have already been answered in the videos I've already done. If you are interested in becoming a loan officer, check out my loan officer playlist because I have covered most of these questions and more in a lot of these videos. Put it on autoplay one day when you're working and you can listen to it or something like that, because a lot of questions that I get asked are already in that playlist, including this one. Here's another one I get a lot: how to pass the MLO exam. I have done multiple videos on this. I have a video on how to pass the first try, how to become a loan officer in as little as 2 weeks. And these videos dive deep into how to pass the test, how to do well, and especially how to pass on the first try. So definitely check those out. Again, I'll have my playlist and any relevant videos to the questions you guys asked. I will have linked in the description box and above. What is the best way to gain knowledge or experience as a freshly licensed MLO? The best way to gain knowledge or experience as a new loan officer is just to do it. You can read all the books in the world. You could pass the test with 100%. A lot of things, until you actually come across them, it's hard to memorize or study what to do. A lot of being a loan officer is a very hands-on training. Once you pass the test, it's literally only the beginning. You're gonna learn so much, like in your first year, 2 years, but a lot of those guidelines you're not gonna understand fully until you go through the process. So I think the best way is just through getting the experience, doing as many loans as you can, learning from each loan and applying that to your future loans. This is also a question I get a lot: job interview and resume tips for new MLOs with no experience. I've briefly touched on this in a previous video, so definitely, again, I encourage you guys to make sure you're checking out my loan officer playlist, because there's so many gems. Most of these questions are answered in those. But I will say, in terms of job interview and resume tips, my biggest tip: if you don't have any experience, it's fine. Do not let that intimidate you. I had no experience as a mortgage loan officer going into the business. What I did though was I took my transferable skills and I played those up. Think about what you're going to be doing as a loan officer. A lot of it involves sales. Sales is key. So if you have any jobs in sales, whether that was retail or, any, business to business, any kind of sales, play that up. Also, if you have ability to communicate well, if you have the ability of administrative skills, if you're very organized, if you're a people person, if you communicate well, any of these skills that will help you become a really good loan officer, play those up in whatever field you have experience in. So for example, me, I have a science background. My bachelor's is in neuroscience, and I did get a master's in business administration with a concentration in healthcare management. I also, when I first graduated college, I was a business analyst, and I also worked in Victoria's Secret for a little bit as a bra specialist. And then of course I have YouTube experience. I worked in academia. So what I did was I pulled all the transferable skills that apply to being a loan officer into my interview and on my resume, and I played those up. So working for Victoria's Secret as a bra specialist, it's not the same as a loan officer, but there are certain sales skills that you get. So I played up on my sales ability. Even marketing, even doing YouTube counts as marketing and sales and things like that. So I played on my marketing ability, my ability to lead and be a go-getter, and persuasion, and all of those things play into it. So that's what I played up when I was becoming a loan officer. So if you have no experience, it's okay. just use those skills that you have and really play those up. You want to show your employer how they're going to benefit from your skills. If it's not in sales or previous loan officer experience, what other experience do you have that you can contribute that will make you a good loan officer? So just play that up in the interview and on your resume, and that's my best advice. And do you have an assistant as a loan officer, or is everything by yourself? For the majority of my career as a loan officer, I have not had an assistant. Didn't start really incorporating loan officer assistants until the past couple years. And even more so, I would say this year is when the LOAs really have jumped in and started taking things over. So I would say don't bank on it. Whatever company you go to, be prepared to learn the entire process yourself. Be prepared to know how to do all those things an assistant would do. And if you are fortunate enough to work for a company that has assistants, or eventually you're able to earn the ability to get an assistant, then definitely go for it. That's great. But I would say don't expect it from most companies starting off. Hi, I'm currently a loan processor now, but I want to make the switch to being a LO. However, my current bank will not cover the cost of NMLS training and tests. What do you recommend to help make this transition? Specifically going from regular pay to commission base, and how to select the right employer. I think the biggest shock to me going into the business as a loan officer was from being a salaried employee to a commission-based employee. It's a big adjustment. It's very scary, and if you are not ready for it, I don't think you should just jump into it hoping for the best. I think taking a very strategic and planned approach is the smartest option. Something I wish I would have done going into becoming a loan officer is having 6 months of expenses saved. If you're new to the industry, it's going to take a little bit for you to start really making money. Make sure you have money saved just in case it takes you a few months to really start closing loans. You don't want to be distracted by trying to pay bills and being stressed and broke. You really want to be able to dive in head first with being able to learn the industry and making realtor connections and industry connections and learning guidelines and just start closing loans. Have 6 months expense saved. If you're smart, trust me, that's what you want to do. I think you will thank me later. It will save your life. I wish I would have done it, but talk about expected compensation plans and any draws, like what's the average pay and draw fees starting out as a new LO. For those of you who aren't familiar, a draw is essentially a payday advance, if you want to say that. When you work commission only, especially when you're starting off, it can be shaky. You may not make money for a while. You may only make a little bit of money for a while until you get on your feet. And so some employers will have in place what they call a draw, meaning that until you start making money, or if there's months you don't make any money, your employer will still pay you, but that money comes out of whatever your next check is. So it's kind of like an advance. If you get a company, and this was advised to me when I was trying to decide if I was going to become a loan officer, this was advised to me by other loan officers, was to ask about a draw and to find out about how much the draw is. So I would definitely say starting off as a loan officer, if you are able to get with a company that gives you a draw, do it, because you may need to take advantage of it. But also, if you've already saved, like I said, saving 6 months expenses going into becoming a loan officer, already financially prepared and mentally prepared for the time it takes you to start making money, you may not need the draw. If you save money in advance, then that can be your own draw. I hated a draw, and a lot of my fellow loan officers wouldn't even use the draw because it's kind of anticlimactic to get your first check as a loan officer and then all of it has to go right back. But if you really need the draw, then use it. Draw fees, I'm not sure of, because number one, it's been so long ago. Number two, I only recall using a draw, honestly, the first maybe like 3 months. I only used to draw until I closed my first loan, my first 1 or 2 loans. So I don't know about fees. I don't even know if I had fees. I can't remember. I don't know that there's also an average pay. I don't know what multiple companies' pays look like. When I was interviewing to become a loan officer and deciding if I was going to do it, I went to anyone that I knew was a loan officer and I asked them starting off what they made, or I presented the payment plan that my employer presented to me. I showed it to them to say, hey, is this fair? Is this not fair? So I think more so than just pinpointing what an average pay is across all employers for all loan officers, I think if you have someone that you know as a loan officer, once you do get an offer, or they give you what the pay is, the commission, I would then go ask someone who's in the industry, is this fair? Does this look right? What are these numbers? What are these percentages? Is there opportunity for you to grow? Do you have an opportunity to make more as you go? I think those are also important questions to ask, because you may start at one commission rate and then you may be able to increase that as you go. Why don't loan officers make the same commission as realtors? Loan officers tend to make less commission on the sale of a home than realtors do. Loan officers can do more volume. Loan officers can do more loans at once, whereas realtors put in a lot more work to sell one home. At least in my mind, that's why. I don't know if that's the official reason why. I hate math. Is there a lot of math involved? Yes and no. There's definitely math involved. If you cannot do basic equations, basic addition, division, things like that, don't become a loan officer. Yeah, there's math. But now, are you gonna have to do like advanced and intricate equations and calculus thing? No. If you have a really good grip on basic math understanding, you'll be fine. The calculations that I tend to do most are income calculations. You have computers to do DTI calculations for you and a lot of things, but you still need to know basic things like how to add someone's income from one year and the next, average it over 24 months to find what their monthly W-2 income is. Or if somebody makes $10 an hour, you need to know how to calculate how much they would be making in a year. If they make $10 an hour and they work 40 hours a week and they get paid bi-weekly, that would be $10 an hour, so that'd be 10 times 40 hours a week, and whatever that is, you would multiply it by 52 because there's 52 weeks in a year, then you would divide it by 12 to get their monthly income. So as you can see, it's basic math. You have a calculator, you have a computer, you're not gonna have to sit there and like do all these long extensive equations, but yeah, you do need to know how to do basic math. If you know basic math, you're good to go. Is it all 100% commission or hourly and commission? A lot of these questions about the pay are dependent upon the employer, but for the most part, if you're working as a licensed mortgage loan officer for a mortgage broker, you're going to be commission. Now, if you work for a bank, banks typically you're going to work as a loan originator and they give you a base salary plus commission on loans you close. The difference is working 100% commission versus working with a bank where you get salary or hourly plus commission is that your commission is going to be far less than someone who is a loan officer on 100% commission. You tend to make more money on each loan if you're commissioned versus if you are not. Again, that's gonna vary with your employer. There may be some mortgage brokers who do pay an hourly plus commission. Make sure you're subscribed so you can join the HONEYBEE fam. You will really want to stay tuned for all the videos I have coming this year. Definitely make sure you're subscribed. I love you guys to the bank and back, and I will see you in my next video.